I didn't react. Not at first. I just stared at the screen, at Sophia's words. We all agree. It all went back 7 years. Thanksgiving, the last one I ever attended. I remember my father, Robert, swirling his wine, looking at the prototypes I'd brought home from my postgrad program. It's a cute hobby, Kalista, he said, loud enough for the table to hear. But when are you going to get a real job? Like your sister Sophia across the table gave that little pitying smile. That'd be nice. It's creative. Then she spent the next 20 minutes talking about the real work she was doing at the new family foundation, how she was building a legacy, how she was innovating in the nonprofit space. My mother, Jennifer, just watched her with this look of absolute adoration. What they never told anyone, what Sophia so carefully omitted, was that I was the ghost in her machine. I, the failed artist, had spent 6 months building her entire digital platform from scratch. The donor portal, the back-end tracking system, the innovative interface she was taking all the credit for. That was all my code. The sustainable tech they were using to track donations that was built on my patents. Patents I had licensed to the foundation for exactly $1 a year, just to be supportive, just to be part of the family. I was the ghost in her machine, the silent partner in my own humiliation. I see it clearly now. In my family, success was never about achievement. It was about compliance. Sophia was the golden child because she was a perfect mirror of my parents' values. I was the scapegoat because I was a window showing them everything they didn't want to be. My failure wasn't just assumed it was necessary for their narrative to survive. I looked at the email again, at the cold legal language at Sophia's signature. They hadn't just disowned me, they had fired their own chief architect, and they didn't even know it. Rayuing, I snapped back to the present. The screen of my monitor cast a blue glow across my desk. I didn't cry. I didn't call them. My face hardened. I opened a new tab on my laptop. I logged into my company's admin panel and navigated to active software licenses. I typed in the name, Sophia Family Foundation. There it was, status active, license for $1 a year. I clicked manage. A pop-up appeared, simple and clean, revoke API, key, and all associated software licenses. My cursor hovered for a single second. I thought about that Thanksgiving dinner. I thought about the words, failed artist. I clicked confirm at 9:15 p.m., exactly 15 minutes after being legally disowned. The entire digital infrastructure of my sister's prestigious foundation went dark. The donor portal, the innovative tracking software, the public-facing website, all of it replaced by a single stock error page. The first call came at 9:17 p.m. My father, Robert, I let it go to voicemail. His message was exactly what I expected. Not how are you? Not can we talk about this? Just pure baits, Kalista. What did you do? Sophia's donor portal is offline. She has a major donor event tomorrow. Turn it back on. Now, this isn't a joke. Next, a rapid series of texts from my mother, Jennifer. Your sister is under enough stress, preparing for Grandma's 85th birthday. This is childish and cruel. She is hysterical. You are sabotaging her. Call us back immediately. You've made your point. I watched the messages pile up one after another, their little notification banners sliding onto my screen and then disappearing. I didn't answer a single one. I just muted the conversation. They thought this was a tantrum. They thought this was me, the unstable daughter having another episode. They still didn't get it. This wasn't an episode. This was an audit, and I was just getting started. My phone buzzed again. This time it was the family group chat, a long sanctimonious post from my sister Sophia. Just so everyone is aware, she wrote, Kalista is sadly having another one of her episodes. She's lashing out and trying to sabotage the foundation's work. Right before Grandma's 85th birthday. It's so tragic. Please just keep her in your thoughts and don't engage. We're handling it. She tagged everyone, aunts, uncles, cousins, painting me as the crazy jealous sister, the failed artist, throwing a tantrum. I read the message, took a deep breath, and put my phone face down on the desk. I wasn't going to fight her in a group chat. I wasn't going to defend myself to people who had already picked their side 7 years ago. Instead, I called my co-founder, Ethan. He picked up on the second ring, his voice, energetic. Hey, you're working late. Everything good with the new material? Composites? Composites are fine, I said, my voice steady. I have a family thing, Ethan. My parents and sister are officially trying to write me out of the family trust. They're telling everyone I'm a failure. There was a pause, and then Ethan just laughed aloud, genuine laugh of failure. Kalista, I am literally looking at the Fast Company Innovation Award on our wall, the one with your name on it. Are they blind? They just see the failed artist who never got a real job. I said, well, he said, and I could hear him typing the Inc. 5000 list that just came out, seems to think our hobby is one of the fastest growing private companies in the country, their loss. So what's the plan? You want me to send them our quarterly report, or maybe just the offer from that VC firm that wanted to buy us out? Not yet, I said, a slow smile spreading across my face. The plan is I'm going to Grandma's 85th birthday gala, and I'm not going empty-handed at the gala. Need backup. I think I've got this one covered, I said, and hung up. I looked at my contact list. My finger hovered over one name, the only one I hadn't spoken to in years, but the only one who ever saw me. Grandma Eleanor, I dialed. It rang once or twice. It's about time you called. Her voice was exactly as I remembered. Sharp, clear, and taking absolutely no nonsense. Grandma? It's Kalista. I know who it is. I assume this isn't a social call, given what your parents and sister are trying to do. My blood went cold, you know. Of course, I know your father, Robert. I can't make a move without telling the whole world. So they're trying to have you disinherited, claiming you're unstable and a failure. And Sophia? She paused. Sophia is demanding a full audit to prove it, to protect the family's legacy. Is that about right? This was the moment the entire game was on this call. Yes, Grandma, that's exactly right, and I'm coming to the party. I was hoping you'd listen to my side. There was a dry chuckle on the other end of the line. Listen to your side, my dear. I'm not that passive. What do you mean an audit? She said, savoring the word. An audit is a splendid idea. In fact, I hired one myself 3 weeks ago, a very thorough gentleman, Mr. Mason. He's not just looking at you. Kalista, he's looking into everything. The line went quiet, but I could feel the weight of that last word, everything, Grandma. What did he find? He found the truth, which is more than I can say for the rest of this family. I'll see you at the party, Kalista, and please wear that navy dress. I saw you in the one from that magazine article. It's time to stop hiding. She hung up. I stared at my phone. The power dynamic hadn't just shifted. It had been a tectonic plate grinding into a new position for weeks, and I was just now feeling the earthquake. Sophia wanted an audit. She was about to get one. I wouldn't find out what happened next until weeks later, after the party, after the dust had finally settled. But while I was in my studio ignoring my family's frantic messages and coordinating with Ethan, Grandma Eleanor was already 2 steps ahead. She was at her vineyard estate in her sunlit study overlooking the rows of vines when the call came in. It was Mr. Mason, the auditor. I can picture the scene perfectly, just as she described it to me. She was sipping her tea. Not at all surprised, Mr. Mason. She answered, her voice crisp. I trust you have my report, ma'am. I do. I've completed the audit of Kalista as requested. And there was a rustle of paper on his end. And, ma'am, your granddaughter isn't a failed artist. She's the co-founder of Aura, a design lab that just made the Fast Company Innovation Award list. She holds 3 key patents in sustainable materials. She is, by any metric, extremely successful. Grandma Eleanor told me. She just smiled. I know what Kalista is, Mr. Mason. Now tell me about the other audit. His tone shifted, ma'am. That's the real reason I'm calling the audit of the Sophia Family Foundation. It's not just mismanagement. It's fraud. He laid it all out. A pattern of multiple irregular transfers. Money moved from the family trust, the one Eleanor herself managed, into the foundation's general fund and then immediately transferred out again. Where did it go, Mr. Mason? To one of Sophia's personal accounts, a total of $25,000 over the last 6 months, all marked as consulting fees. But the authorization, the transfer from the trust, ma'am, the signature for the withdrawal, it's a digital forgery of your own. When Grandma Eleanor told me this, I finally understood. I had just thought Sophia was greedy, desperate for approval. But Eleanor, she saw something far more dangerous. She told me later, you have to understand, dear, your sister isn't just greedy. She's terrified to a person like Sophia. Your success isn't just success. It's an injury. It proves her entire world. The one my son and daughter-in-law built for her is a lie. She has to destroy you, or she has to admit she's the real failure. And so Grandma Eleanor, holding the proof of my success in one hand and the proof of Sophia's crime in the other, made her final move. "Mr. Mason," she said, her voice like ice, "please, bind both reports together, the one on Kalista's success and the one on Sophia's fraud. Put them in a single envelope. Send the complete file to my granddaughter Sophia, the one who asked for it." He was confused. "Ma'am, are you sure?" "Oh, yes," Eleanor said. She wanted an audit. She's going to get one. The night of the gala, the vineyard estate was lit up like a postcard string. Lights hung between the old oak trees, and a string quartet was playing on the terrace. It was exactly the kind of old money fantasy my family loved to project. I walked in with Ethan by my side. He wasn't just my co-founder. He was my proof. Conversation stopped. I saw my mother Jennifer, her champagne flute frozen halfway to her lips. My father Robert just gaped, his face turning a dull red. And then I saw Sophia. She was standing near the grand piano wearing a red dress, looking every bit the part of the gracious heir when she saw me. Her perfect smile tightened into a knot of pure fury. She'd expected me to arrive in shame. She'd expected me to beg. She had not expected me to walk in looking like I owned the place. She let the tension build for almost an hour, whispering to relatives, pointing, casting dark looks my way. I just smiled, sipped my champagne, and talked to Ethan. I didn't engage. I didn't have to. Finally, she tapped her champagne glass with a silver knife. The ringing cut through the music. A speech, she announced, her voice bright and false. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my grandmother Eleanor's 85th birthday. As you all know, I've dedicated my life to protecting this family's legacy." Her eyes found mine across the room, a predator's gaze, and as the head of the family foundation, she continued, "It's my duty to handle difficult matters to protect us." "Grandma, you wanted an audit? Well, I have it right here." She held up a thick bound report, the one Mr. Mason had compiled, the one she'd been too arrogant to read. "I have here," she said, her voice dripping with triumph, "the official proof of what we're dealing with. The truth about my sister Kalista." All eyes turned to me. I just stood there, relaxed. Grandma Eleanor, sitting in the front row in a high-back chair like a throne, nodded. "Go on, dear," she said, her voice clear. "Read it for us, all of it." Sophia, smug, opened the report. She cleared her throat. "This audit concerns Kalista," she began. "It confirms her role," she faltered. Her eyes scanned the page, then scanned it again. Faster. "It confirms her role as co-founder of ARA," she stumbled over the name, "a design lab with an ink." 5,000 ranking, the room was dead silent, save for the crickets outside Sophia's. Hands were visibly shaking now. A company valuation of her voice dropped to a whisper. She couldn't say the number, my father. Robert finally snapped. He wasn't looking at Sophia. He was glaring at me. "Kalista, stop this," he hissed. "Whatever you did, stop it. You're ruining the party." I finally looked at him, and for the first time in my life, I felt nothing. No fear, no anger, just pity. "I'm not saying a word, Dad," I said, my voice perfectly calm and carrying across the silent lawn. "She's the one with the report." I turned back to my sister, whose face was now a chalky white. "Keep reading, Sophia." I said, "You wanted the truth?" "Read it. Read the part about the other audit, the one about the $25,000. Sophia looked like she'd been struck. She dropped the report, the pages scattered across the stone terrace. "That's enough, Grandma," Eleanor said, standing up. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the night like a blade. "She's not ruining it, Robert. She's saving it." She turned her gaze on Sophia, who was backing away, shaking her head. "You wanted an audit, Sophia. You wanted proof." Grandma gestured to a quiet man in a suit. "I hadn't noticed by the door. Mr. Mason is here. He can explain his findings in detail." She paused, looking around at the shocked faces of our family, and as this is now a private family matter, so our 2 sheriff's deputies waiting in the study, Sophia was quietly escorted into the study. I didn't watch her go. The party was over. The string quartet had stopped playing. All I could hear was the rustling of leaves in the vineyard, and my mother Jennifer letting out a single broken sob. My father Robert just stood there, staring at the scattered pages of the audit report, a man whose entire world had just been dismantled in front of his friends and family. They looked small, broken. Ethan touched my arm. "Kalista, let's go." I didn't say goodbye. I didn't look back. We just walked away past the shocked guests, past the grand oak trees, and out of the life I had spent 7 years trying to escape. The next day, I was back in my studio. The sun was streaming through the windows, illuminating the prototypes and material swatches. It felt like my sanctuary again. An email was waiting for me from Mr. Mason. It was brief and professional. Ms. Kalista, this is to confirm that, in light of the evidence, Ms. Sophia, last name has confessed to the forgery and misappropriation of funds. The authorities are handling the legal proceedings. I closed the email. It was done. I opened my laptop and navigated to my private server. There, it was a folder I hadn't opened in years. Sophia Family Foundation, Master Repository. I stared at the name, all those late nights, all that code, all that work. I had poured into it, just to be supportive. The ghost of my former life, all in one file. My cursor hovered over the icon. I thought I would feel anger or sadness. Instead, I just felt nothing. It wasn't mine anymore. It never really was. I moved the cursor to the delete repository button and clicked. Are you sure you want to permanently delete this file? Yes, for 7 years, I thought I was just running from them. But as I watched Sophia's world collapse, I realized I hadn't been running from anything. I was running to myself. Cutting them off wasn't an act of destruction. It was an act of creation. It was the only way I could clear the ground to build something real. I looked up as the door to my studio opened. It was Grandma Eleanor, holding a box of donuts with Ethan right behind her, holding 3 coffees. You're late. I smiled. Good ideas. Take time, Eleanor said. Setting the box down on my main design table, she pulled out a pen. Now, I've been thinking about this new grant. I stood up and joined them, grabbing a marker. We sketched ideas on the large whiteboard, the sunlight flooding the room, and at the top of the board, in my handwriting, I wrote the title of our new venture, the Eleanor Kalista Innovation Grant, funding the next generation of female designers. It wasn't an ending, it was the first harvest. Yo, if this sparked the ember in your chest, smash, subscribe, ring bell drop. Where are you watching from? Say was below. Share with anyone called a failed artist. They need to know the ghost becomes the architect. Comment your deleted the past moment. New fire. Every 24 hours, stay locked.